actually one of our three guaranteed characters. It is in fact Umaru, Gao, and Strago, which are three characters that I find a lot of value in, but they tend to be pretty questionable as to who actually has what rages to start with. And so finding them later on in the seed can theoretically be less useful.
Yeah, that's a good point. The earlier you find them, the more you can learn for Gao, or excuse me, for Strago, and Gao might be able to pick up some good rages too. But of note, these three characters are all that you need. We're really just looking for Espers to bust into Kefka's tower right now.
Absolutely, yeah. It is 3 characters, 12 espers. There was a couple points brought up, and this is actually why I wanted to try a few different options with our seeds this week. The first one is the idea of only needing the 3 characters, which are the basically bare minimum you would ever need to go into Kefka anyway. So it theoretically should not shorten the seed. At least if it does, it won't be by very much. While also still giving us the same amount of espers before going in. Although I did raise the number a little bit with the spoiler log being accessible, and theoretically you're less likely to run into a dead check or checks that, maybe you're not going to go in if you see a boss's poltergeist and you don't think you're ready. So that gives people a little bit more of an option of, do you spend time in your spoiler log seeing who the boss is and if you're ready to get them, or to see at least what the
Yeah, and so right now we've got all 4 of our runners looting the chests in Narsh, and they don't seem to be too exciting. We've got a Coronet and Elixir, so we can sell for some stuff, but that's really about it.
Absolutely. And I will
Yeah.
say I took a look at the spoiler log myself. There is access to fairly cheap thunder shields, I believe it was, for 10k. So if you can get the gold to buy a couple of those, you'll get through pretty easily.
All right, we've got Jack deciding to go to World of Ruin, South Figaro, and someone else joining him. Looks like Future Force is going to go dig some stuff out here as well.
That's interesting. I've always had that question with that. Do you usually go World of Balance for the chests or World of Ruin?
I almost always go World of Balance. I kind of have the opening route of Narsh into South Figaro into Returners, and then from there figure out what to do.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where I've looked at it, and I think I tend to, unless I have Celeste, I actually like going into the World of Ruin. South Figaro, if for no other reason than most other racers aren't going to do it, maybe I'm going to find something really lucky. Usually it means I might miss the item everyone else gets, but I kind of like picking up a different item.
Yeah, so we see Jack skipping some chests, and there must not be anything too exciting in there.
And it definitely looks like we've got people going through, doing their normal shopping, picking up some chests. I believe that is Mr. Entity going for Kefka and Narsh, however.
Yeah, he's making a run up there. Might be doable with just I don't know, maybe an autopilot party and a wall ring.
Absolutely. And that's actually one of those things. This is where I love seeing Umaro, because Umaro really, if you give him a couple levels, he can kill just about any boss. Your only real dangers with him are Goddess and Goddess and Welk, but realistically, he can fight every other boss, especially with his defense ignoring attacks. Like we have, what is that, Jackmus going for the dried meat? See if he can get another stop there.
Yep, and Future Force is we're gonna head into the Serpent Trench fairly early. Meanwhile, Fraggle decides, I'm gonna need a little more help here. Let's bring Terra into the party.
I mean, if you have a chance to pick up Terra, I don't think you usually turn that one down. Especially because I believe we have equipable Umaro on, which means that if he really doesn't like Umaro, which, I can admit some people are allowed to be wrong, he can always take that snow muffler off of Umaro, which is
All right, so we have Gao with the Cactrot Rage, which means 1,000 damage. Here you go.
absolutely. And while that may not scale up to the final Kefka fight, you do not have to worry about any early bosses. Now, if you see an early boss that's going to give you trouble at a higher scaling, you might want to just go take him down with the easy 1k damage.
All right, so in the treasure room, we have, well, quite a bit of stuff there. None of this is particularly exciting so far, but it will sell for
I
a
did
good
see a
chunk.
ribbon, and there are definitely some situations where ribbons can handle a lot of help there. And just to answer the question for Hierofellows, all of the weaknesses are still the same. So most of the strats still work. While Alpha will change a few things, we have an update coming up that may change. I believe has a flag for removing the fact that you can Phoenix down the Phantom Train, as an example. The Vanish and Doom bug that was in vanilla, it has been fixed.
So we just saw Yeti dancing with an Imperial soldier on Fraggle's screen. Poor guy got body blocked like for 6 steps in a row. Oh, leader in the Welk spot, so that's pretty free. Except Gao gets axed down, so see you later.
Well, it's not too bad if you can replace Gao with Celeste, even if you do lose that raid. Just shuffle them out as they die. It's not really that big of an issue if you do that, right? How that works?
Yeah, so Jack is just doing a good job of let's crack open a bunch of nice checks and get the party built up fairly early. Did that spoiler log include the Esper bonuses as well?
Yeah, I believe so. The Espers should tell you. I'm gonna check myself while I say this, but they do go through all of the spells and their rates they learn along with the Esper bonuses. So looking through here, I do not see any magic powered ones, so we don't have any really broken Espers this week. We do have some speed plus 2s, but that and the HP plus 50% seems to be the best ones we've got.
We've got Jack just hanging out in above Narshare. It must be, I don't know, maybe the Bruins scored or something.
Got Serpent Trench play early is definitely an interesting one, I will say, with the random fights also. You never know what you're going to do.
Yeah, I always feel uncomfortable doing a Serpent Trench check.
Oh, absolutely.
But box sets without any MP, it's a pretty good group to run into.
I would agree with that. I have also had times where he has evil tooted me when I was about to queue up a Cyan and have absolutely killed myself to him, and so I never like seeing those boxes. I don't care what their MP is. I have bad memories of them. Got Umaro carrying Entity through Vargas, though. Not that he has much choice at this point, because there's not really a command he can give.
Yeah, Jack, meanwhile, stocking up on flame shields, and he's good to go.
Absolutely, and those shields actually have 2 benefits, if I recall, so they are actually even better than rods if they're affordable, which in this seed they are. I believe you learn the elemental spell of the level 2 version if you have it equipped after a certain amount of time, and you can also break them for, I believe, that elemental spell at level 3 with ignoring defenses. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So, even more broken than the usual rod strats is the elemental shields for sure.
So yeah, I'm curious now if Jack's gonna take a shot at the dragon here, and if this is the ice dragon.
I do not remember whether we went with scaled or unscaled dragons, to be honest. Check that. Because I know that's also been a question that's been going on.
Oh, meanwhile, Fraggle picks up an experience egg, and those are, you're never unhappy to see
No,
those.
especially if you have Umaro, because since physical damage's main scaling option really is off of level, strength does a little bit of a factor, but level is honestly the most important thing. If you level up Umaro or Cyan with an experience egg and that rage ring that just got picked up, you can have a really, really scary physical attacker with almost no weapon or item investment. And it looks like we do have the scaling dragons off, so avoiding that dragon is probably a pretty good option at this point. That would be a fairly high-level dragon to start a seed out with.
Alright, so Jack is going to pick up his Illumina, and he loves the physical attack strats, so watch a master at work. He's probably going to be breaking some shields in this fight.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm wondering what the reward is, or if, maybe the 10 minutes wasn't enough to dive too deep into the rewards. But going into the Magimaster Tower, unless you know it's an easy boss, which, well, Ultros isn't going to have too much of an issue, usually don't want to break into that too early. Fine, goodbye, Ultros.
Alright, so let's see. Later. Okay.
That was a exciting and riveting fight. I'm glad Ultros made his appearance as always. Looks like, did you see if Entity actually finished that fight against the Targus?
I did not, so...
Hopefully he did. I see that he's got an Esper now, so I believe he actually did walk through that. Because that would have been 100% carried by that Umaro. And spoiler log is available, Animaniac, but we do have the question of how much time do you spend looking at the spoiler log, trying to figure out what routing options we have versus actually just running the Wraith, which realistically I think the best question is avoiding dead checks before anything. Go. We might have a double Berserker going on down in Future Forces corner for sure.
So the long walk back down, and we'll see what Jack's official prize is. Illumina was pretty good.
Absolutely. Illumina can definitely help carry you through a seed. You don't have enough shields to break over every enemy's back.
Oh, well, there's a box set that uncorks media, so that's no good for
I'm
Future
telling you,
Forces.
those boxes are scary.
You just never know.
Looks like we have Kieran as our reward.
So not an exciting ability-wise, but let's see what
That
we learn
is
from it.
Stop, Bolt 3, and Bolt. And Bolt 3 is at X3, so that's not going to be too long to learn.
Yeah, the other bonuses, Stop makes the Poltergeist fight pretty trivial.
Absolutely. Having Stop is, when you know that you can use it against those bosses, it absolutely just trivializes that fight, and you don't really have to worry about anything. Amazing. Looks like we've still got some looting going on. One's kind of picking up different stops.
Yeah, Jack might roll this into Elite River check. There's the Bone Club, but that's the second one.
I believe Jackmus may have just missed the experience egg, which is a little unfortunate.
Oh, was that back in the White
It was
Cave
back
chest?
in the cave. Although watching him, I'm definitely learning to check that, that... I never remember which vases give you items.
Alright, well, those were some particularly expensive mithril knives, so selling the gauntlet, and here, have some Magicite that's not a victory condition, and we got Super Balls.
You know, Magicite is definitely one of those items. I love the idea of it, but knowing, like, risking when you use it is a question, because you can just kind of party wipe yourself with that, but you might take down the enemy in a last-ditch attempt.
Yeah, I mean, you could take yourself and the enemy out. Just roll Crusader.
Oh yeah, that's all you gotta do. Just roll Crusader. No problem at all. Although, I guess if you're really desperate in Phase 3, you could try and roll for a Golem or a Fenrir or even Palador to protect you from Calmness. I believe it's Palador was the third one. I keep forgetting.
Yeah, old Jumpy. I think you can do, yeah, you can try it with Phantom too, but you have to time things very carefully because Media is just going to rip that off of you.
Looks like we actually have another pretty easy fight there at Zozo with Hydon kind of sitting at the top there. So, as I like to say, Hydon. Hydon.
Yep, as you were alluding to before, Ghost Train and Hydon probably going to be much harder fights in the future, but for now, enjoy killing them in one shot with an item.
There is something very satisfying about just dropping a little Phoenix down or a little drop on them and they go away, but while the Phantom Train I don't believe has too much going on for it itself, as far as the fight mechanics, I do believe I remember that Hydon has some very powerful abilities if you let that fight go on for too long.
Not only do you have the legendary Grand Train, but all those little guys are real annoying.
Absolutely, and it looks like we did have Ragnarok sitting in there also, which is a Strength +1 Esper with Rasp, so not necessarily the best one we've got, but still useful to have that Esper. Be even more valuable in the next update when you can use Espers more times.
Man, Jack is just getting the short end of the stick here with this with the Super Ball tosses.
Balls are absolutely amazing, but it's kind of one of those things where it's even more of a problem than fixed dice because you don't know what you're going to do. And it really doesn't matter about any of your stats or your levels. It could be amazing, it could be nothing.
Yeah, it's one of those items where if you have a couple of them, you want to use them right before a boss fight where you can save and get back into it fairly easily. If you have to like run up the tower just to hope that your Super Ball hits, that's not a good
Absolutely. And I mean, I will say, I'm a bit of a gambler. If I have cheaper Super Balls, I will definitely carry them, especially through Kefka's Tower, because you take those level 1, level 3 to level 5 allies you've got that you haven't been using all seed. They might not do much, but if you throw them a Super Ball, it'll still kill people.
Well, we've got a fairly disgusting fight on Jack's side. Heads up play to insta-kill one of the magics. With these other two, oh boy, you're not gonna Runic W win. I'm sorry.
There's not much you're gonna do on that. I did just see that Strago also has Blowfish, so that was 2 Blowfish users at the start of the seed. It's actually pretty useful to start between Gao and Strago, even if it is a bit expensive on the MP cost.
This fight is just a brutal time waste, unfortunately.
Absolutely, and this is one of those things. Elite River, I find a lot of trouble in the Elite River with just the randomized fights now, because they could be anything. And there is another fight, but now we've got Jacquemus and another unrunnable, level 40, 60, 80 magics. And it's kind of hard to get through them. 40, 50, 60, sorry.
Yeah, it looks like at least there's kind of an out here, but Jack is not going to be in very good shape for the boss fight. Hopefully it's pretty easy.
Or at least, hopefully, he has a tent to heal up after this fight, because I believe he's still got the save point to go.
Oof, there goes the Runic Caster, that's not good.
In the meantime, we have, I believe that's Future going through the sealed cave, or returning at least. Sabin being picked up by Fraggle in Celeste's cage. And I believe Mr. Entity, does he Celeste yet, or is he just looting the area? I think he's just looting the area.
Yeah, I guess we'll get to see what's on the Will to Balance side. Oh, there goes the Vanish. So looks looks like we're gonna have to use blowfish strats here to take this guy out. Yeah, Jack is just burning so much time in this fight.
Like I said, Elite River is one of those things where if you can get through it and you can get an easy fight, it's amazing. You pick up tons of experience in all of the different fights. He does thankfully have a tent to recover from those, but he might run some more magics after this. It's one of those things where you might roll the other enemy every fight and be fine getting through there. You also might just keep getting those level magics, and that's never fun to see.
Fraggle finds the red jacket, not too bad. Nice vigor boost and immunity to fire. Very helpful.
What is the actual benefit or the bonuses for Red Jacket?
The fire immunity is the big one, because that's one of the guys that I always look for to see if I can do meme Merton strats.
That's right.
But yeah, the vigor bonus is also pretty nice too.
And then that's one of those strats, actually, I would love to see more often is the Merton strats. Because it sounds so much fun, and you never really get to see it because it really is gear dependent, and then if you get the magic itself.
Yeah, there have been a lot of seeds where I have gotten the gear and I'm all ready to execute that, and then I find an Ultima Esper, and I'm like, oh, well, never mind.
Absolutely. Especially when you just have a Red Jackets. If you have Flame Shields available, which we have in this seed, I would love to see someone start running Merton, because not only in that case, I believe, doesn't just nullify it, but you actually absorb it, correct?
Yeah, so it's basically a full heal every time you cast it, so you're really in no danger to anything other than the statuses and calmness if you're running through, like, the Kefka's fight, for example.
Absolutely, so yeah, just sit there and throw Mertons at everyone, heal yourself for full, kill all the enemies at the same time. I don't see a problem with that. Looks like it also gives 4 magic power, as Fragen just posted for us in the chat, which is super useful. And I can definitely see why Red Jackets are looked for.
Yeah, the only tricky thing about the Red Jacket is who can equip it. Normally it's just Satan-only gear, but with the random effects, the equipment pools are a lot more interesting in the rando, and you do have to try them out to see who can equip what.
Absolutely, and I think I did go with random plus original, or original plus random for the equipable, both on relics and the regular equipable. So you never know who else can wear that that Red Jacket as they go along.
Alright, so Jack has trudged through Elite River, and the prize is Carbuncle. What does he get from this?
From Carbuncle? I'm glad to see that it was just a tunnel armor, though, rather than having to deal with the a large boss after having to deal with those fights. And it does look like, because of course we were talking about it, Carbuncle actually has Remedy, Antidote, and Merton. So he does know where to find those flame shields if he really wants to go for that strat.
Alright, as things stand right now, and time for the Opera House. I guess you just want some more experience. That's another kind of rough thing about those level magic fights, is they only give magic points. They feel like a lot of empty calories.
Absolutely, especially when you're starting. If it's one of your first checks you go into, and you haven't gotten very many levels, magic power can be nice if you have a lot of espers. But when you're sitting there trying to get through a fight and hopefully getting a few levels off of it, and all you get is magic power, it doesn't help you nearly as much.
All right, so we have Fraggle picking up Shadow here at one of the Sabin checks. So the Sabin checks I always have thought were probably the best in the game. Just very nice to try out, and if you don't succeed at any of them, you don't really lose a whole bunch of time.
Absolutely. And I mean, Phantom Train especially is one of those seeds where it's like, even if you don't have a spoiler log, just walk in. It's like, okay, I know what the reward is here. And if it's a really good reward, like a character and you have that character from the beginning, which is also
Yeah, I mean, the Phantom Train is really friendly. You can get into random fights if you don't, if you can't quite deal with the boss. There's a monster in a box there. There's a good amount of chests, and there's item shops too. So
absolutely.
it's not like you're gonna run out of sustain.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where like Kefka and Narsh, you really have to grind. You do eventually run out of those fights. The ghosts never leave though. You can always fight them.
Meanwhile, Fraggle picking up level 4 flare, so probably nice that that didn't hit because it is brutal when it does.
Absolutely, and that is one of those things. Actually, with progress times 2 scaling, if you ever get access to level 4 flare, that's gonna be useful quite often in every other check, basically. Or I guess levels are slightly skewed, right?
I think so. This is one of the more irritating fights. These X-rays can inflict undead at like a terrifying rate. So Fraggle gets through it okay. It's gonna pick up a bunch of Revivifies. And Jackamus just got through. It looks like Umaro lost the bowling tournament on his side.
Absolutely. Honestly, at some point, once you have those flame shields, I don't really think there's a whole lot you're going to have to worry about anyway. Was a gem box I just saw at a chest I've never actually gotten to in the castle, along with our wonderful, wonderful poison walk, so...
Yes, the Imperial base has a couple of chests in there that aren't too bad to get. There's also a monster in a box where sometimes you're just not ready to do that. And if Katana Soul's there, well, I guess I don't get offerings. Oh, hey, we have Mega Elixirs on sale for less than Elixirs.
I mean...
So,
but do you really want to spend the time going through the animation, giving everyone in your team full HP and full MP? I don't think necessarily Mega Elixirs are that amazing.
they're pretty
They
good.
are pretty good.
I'd like to have at least one.
Mega Elixirs is definitely one of those things, kind of like the Master Ball in Pokemon, where you never want to use it until the very end. Because going to Kefka, Phase 4, when he opens up with that Fallen one, just setting all of your people back to full health and effectively negating that fight, or that attack at least, is really useful. But if you can ever get access to more Mega Elixirs, that's a lot better.
I thought you were gonna say, put Kefka in the Master Ball for a second.
I mean, look, if I had a way of using a mediator to capture Kefka, I wouldn't mind it. But I don't think we've got anything that we can walk up to Kefka and give him a nice smacking.
So this is kind of interesting. Fraggle runs into the Magimaster fight and then realizes that if Umaro actually hits him, it's not good. He has really nothing to do with this fight.
I will say that while it's not very quick, Umaro can solo that fight, and with the wall ring, Umaro would never die. So he could get through that fight. It would be very slow, and I can understand why he reset out of it. But this is one of the things about Umaro. It sucks that he does the automatic attack, but at the same time, he also 100% could just take care of that ball.
Yeah, just go. I don't know. At this point, it's not even make a sandwich. You could probably make beef Wellington or something. Oh, that's why they couldn't kill him. Dude's got a snow muffler on. Yeah, good luck with that.
Although I'm wondering what his exact strategy is here. I saw he had wall rings. I know that you can take Magimaster out by wearing 4 wall rings, preferably for speed. Never attack him so he doesn't have wall change, and then let him go through. But he does seem to still be using Umaro in general. I'm not sure what the strategy is.
Yeah, so there's the wall change off the start, and I think he's just trying to. He was hoping that he could kill Umaro before the fight started, but yeah, this is. I don't think this is gonna work either.
Yeah, this is. Yep. There we see the. But what he'd rather us be looking at instead of his shame with this Magimaster fight. That's fine. We understand. I've still never seen someone actually suplex the train. I love the meme. I've never seen someone do it.
In the rando, it's kind of hard to arrange that.
Also, I do see Mr. Entity going through what I believe is one of his least favorite checks. We have the Ebot's Rock, which is personally one of my favorite. But going through, collecting the 23 pieces of coral through a random map that he gets teleported to, trying to get back to that chest, I think, at this point. So he can turn in that coral.
Yeah, I would like this check a lot more if your chances of making it to the chest room, if the probability was smoothed out a little bit. I've had enough runs where I've seen the entrance in the save spot like 10 times more than the chest room, and it's been frustrating.
Absolutely, and I can understand that. I like it in general just because running through and getting, those checks reminds me of back when I used to play Diablo 2. Just hop onto a random map and kind of figure out roughly where you are in that map tile and then keep working there. You can make it work.
Fraggle's going real galaxy brain here with this fight. He's got the rasp strats going on, and once he burns out all of Magimaster's 8 or MP, that's going to be it.
Absolutely, and that's a bit of a throwback too, I believe, because it used to be when Magimaster had Ultima as a death counter. You were basically in a situation where you either had to rasp him to 0 MP so he could just die without using his Ultima counter, or have life 3 to try and come back after the death. But you can always rasp or let him spell out all of his MP to try and let that run out. So it's an interesting option for sure.
Alright, never mind. We were briefly trying Super Balls, and that didn't work out for Fraggle, so now back to Rasp.
Unfortunately, I also don't think he had enough Super Balls at this point. With Magimaster occasionally healing himself for those wall changes, it really is difficult to get through him without... If you do no attacks, he will kill himself eventually with wall rings because he doesn't wall chain until you've attacked him. We got, looks like Magimaster's little brother, number 24, giving Mr. Entity a little bit of a struggle at the end of Ebot's Rock, but it shouldn't be too bad before it goes down. We have the much scarier Atma weapon, however, at the top left.
And for the unprepared, these pugs can also be kind of annoying. You're not guaranteed to get Minerva out of this fight, so hopefully he gets it, but I think the way he kind of just stumbled into this and tried to run away, I don't think he was expecting a monster in a box there.
I have to say, one of these days I really want to see the monster in a box shuffled in with all the random bosses, or all the random boxes. But for now, yeah, sometimes trying to remember which one's that box. Sometimes you really hope you had a nearby save.
Well, speaking of Ultima and the Cursed Shield being low, that's what Mr. E's going for his victory condition. He just rescued Locke from the depths of Ebot's Rock.
Absolutely, and he tends to be a player who will do a lot of walking without the Moogle Charm anyways, whenever he needs to do a little bit of leveling. So we'll likely see not only him get that Cursed Shield unlocked, but also do it without having to fight too many bosses with that Cursed Shield on. Most other players would attempt to do is if you can get through the bosses with that shield on and just get through afterward.
Jack making pretty short work of Atma weapon. Regular Atma, a lot scarier. Atma weapon still can pack a punch but he was well prepared for that fight.
Absolutely, and he's doing pretty good with both the characters he's got leveled up and some of the gear. You know, Inamaro throwing out some reliable damage, that Illumina helping out a ton. You know, he can keep swinging in. In worst case scenario, he's always got Blowfish. Also, to answer your question, Jason, so the seed settings were made public about halfway through the week, so people knew, especially with this one, who they'd be starting with, and kind of what the thing was going on with it. The actual seed itself for this one was started 10 minutes beforehand, so they didn't know the specifics of this spoiler seed until just 10 minutes before. Is a stopped fire chicken, I see, though. Even if he did accidentally freeze his old man first. And this is one of those things, like you said. Having stop means that you can make this fight a lot easier. Fire chicken is very scary if you don't have absorption or some way of killing him really quickly. Stop kind of handles that for you, though.
Got the old Chick-fil-A special on Jack's side there.
Hey, I personally like my chicken pretty well done, so I'm alright with it. It's always nice seeing a fire chicken, although I have to say, Doomgaze at Phantom Train Spot, taking out 2 of those characters is, that's a scary one there.
Yeah, this is terrifying. Like, I don't know what the plan is for this, but this is not going to be a fun
Absolutely
fight.
not, and especially if he doesn't keep those other characters alive, because Walumaro will swing in for damage, which does not look to be very high level. He's not going to have many options if all of his other characters die. And absolutely, yeah. If you're trying to go through Magimaster with Reflect, the strat is to not do an attack so he doesn't wall change, and then he will eventually kill himself by his own spells. What Fraggle's doing is trying to burn through the MP. It will work eventually, because he is also casting his own Fire 3, which is also lowering the MP a little bit, but man, his MP starts really high.
Yeah, it's an absurdly large amount, so you're going to be sitting here for a while, but this is a good strategy to have in your back pocket if this guy is bottlenecking you and the Ultima counter is on.
And it will work. I'm going to give him that. And I think at this point, you know, he's so deep into this fight that he almost might as well finish it, which I appreciate.
Yeah, this feels like the Tin Cup moment. Like, I can make this shot. I can kill this boss. Just watch.
Just have a controller, hold X, and then go take care of chores while you're doing other things. As long as you have the sound on, you'll eventually hear the difference. Yeah, we do have that point I was talking about. We now have a new Morrow. Never mind, we do not have a new Morrow soloing that Doom anymore. That is a really mean place for Doomgaze to be.
That's exactly what. Exactly.
Just hoping... Oh, sorry. I just got distracted by the fact that we just had a 2,000 gold Esper in Zen. May not have...
It's a pretty big deal.
May not have had a very good spells, but free Esper, it's still one of the 12 you need.
Yeah, so Future Force, unfortunately, is now kind of stuck in a bottleneck here. That's one of the bad things about this check is if you can't finish it, you're pretty much stuck doing this.
Absolutely. However, he does have. It looks like he hasn't done much grinding at all. And he does have enemies at level 14. So he can get some levels pretty quickly just by doing a few fights, because I don't think he's done any grinding yet.
Yeah, and I wasn't expecting that, but with that one level, level 5 Doom is not going to kill his entire party, so looks a little more
Absolutely.
doable now.
Also, to answer your point, Cheese Reaver, this is actually one of those portal waterfalls where you just have a portal at the bottom and a portal at the top. They've only fallen like 5 feet, but they just keep doing the same loop over and over. The only reason I can think of for why they've been falling for, at this point, like, I believe 13, 14 minutes. A very tall waterfall.
They're just fighting in front of a TV that's actually static.
Oh, I see. They have the old radio TV radio. Oh shoot!
Got the rabbit ears.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, the rabbit ears antenna, and you just have it on channel 4 instead of 3, and all you see is fuzz.
Yeah. Somebody adjusts the vertical hold, but nobody wants to get up to do it.
I mean, it's
because what's a remote control?
exactly. It's so far away. Not gonna worry. You have a Tidon's gone again. And yeah, it looks like without the level 5 Doom, and a few levels on Strago to use that Blowfish, we might actually be seeing a dead Doomgaze here in a second.
Yeah, Arrow is kind of the thing that I'm terrified with in this fight. That tends to do so much damage early on.
Absolutely. Has Fraggle run out of MP and has now resorted to attacking Magimaster?
This is not
I
good.
feel really bad for him. I really do. I know how it is to be 10 minutes into a boss fight, and you really don't want to stop. But at some point, you know you've kind of sunk more time into this fight than you've gotten out of it.
This is going to be a most brutal post-game interview.
It's so many rasps, but I'm gonna say, sticking to your guns, it's a thing. I'm glad he's doing it.
Maybe the first and last person to ever do this strategy on a stream. Meanwhile, Jack is just drunk walking through all of South Vigra. Jack, this isn't your house. What are you doing?
I mean, hey, are you going to walk up to the old man who just walked into your house, stumbling across every room, just running into everything? Are you going to walk up to him and tell him this is not his house? Because I think I'm just going to let him be.
I mean, as long as he walks out the back door, that's fine. But like...
Just open the back door. He'll eventually let himself out. I did check. Does look like if we can get Fraggle through that Magimaster, he will be rewarded with Phantom, which has Cure 3, Ice 3, and Life as spells. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel, even if it's not the brightest one.
The light at the end of the tunnel is an oncoming ghost train.
I would prefer that at this point. Just throw Phoenix down and we're done. Also, now seeing Mr. Entity fight atop the train, which I had never seen that rolling screen before.
Yeah, the set piece art in this game is really quite nice.
Amazing to see the way that Final Fantasy always. They've done such good work with it, especially with like the amount of scrolling they've done on these games. It's so easy bad job with random scrolling or repetitive snaps like this.
Oh, hey, there's the evil toot you were talking about, right on time.
Shadow at the camp. That's an. Although I never like doing another one of those things where Imperial Camp. Occasionally, it's a very free check. You walk in, you've got one small fight, and you're out. Occasionally, you have to do another 4 random encounters to get the boss.
Yeah, this is one of my preferred checks if to do early on, because you can just do this instead of taking a random encounter, and then you're at like level 7 with an Esper.
Ah.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things, like I said. It's great when you just walk in, you've just got that one small non-boss fight and you're done. But if it's the character and all of a sudden you're in for another 4 or 5, it can be a little bit more.
Yeah, I think Future Force is feeling like maybe he bit off more than he could chew. This is kind of it's kind of an imposing fight.
Absolutely. Doomgaze is really one of those bosses that, ever since we've had the bosses start moving where they're at, it's just one of those really, really scary fights, and I'm glad he's no longer most of the time in disguise. It's so much better running into him at a boss check than to walking through trying to find you. Try to get to the next check you were looking through, and all of a sudden there's a Doomgaze. I kind of prefer having it as another boss check, but it's so dangerous to fight something.
Yeah, Fraggle does have options. I mean, with Runic, you can just pick up the next spell that gets cast, and there you go. It's a million more grasps, but it's just. I mean, you're not going anywhere.
Right. I think it was also he was trying to figure out if there was another strat that would be faster. See if normal fighting would be a thing, but Magimaster, despite being in an area where you literally can't fight him normally, they did give him an absurdly high normal defense value, so that in this situation where he is in a random spot, still really doesn't like to be physically attacked.
Yeah, and that's kind of difficult. You basically need non-elemental or ignores defense in order to really get through this.
Yeah,
so.
Flare has 100% become favorite spells to find. It will get through Magimaster. It will get through every boss eventually.
Yeah, a good X fight setup. Thinking either Valiant Knife or Fixed Dice. That'll get through it. Flare is definitely one of the big ones. In a pinch, you can even use Meteor.
Yeah, but Meteor, I believe, is always the split damage. Not as high damage as Flare, but it will eventually. I think we have Future going back to grind a little bit more. That's going to be... can definitely overpower that Doomgaze.
Yeah, and speaking of which, we're going to have another person rolling up on Doomgaze. Mr. Entity, with a ton of characters, is just going to help himself to some ghost food. I haven't seen that on a stream in a while.
Ghost food is just as good as any other food.
It's all that empty calories, though.
Hey, that's the best part about it. You get a full meal, you get to fill yourself up, and as soon as you leave that train, you don't have any of those calories to worry. Great. No downsides.
Your HP and MP are full, but you're still hungry.
Hey, as long as I get to eat, if you could tell me that I could eat and not get calories from it, I would 100%.
I would take that offer and then die by like the end of the week.
If you have to choose a way to go, would you choose to fall from a waterfall for 30 minutes? Try to run away from a giant flying monster at the end of a train that's trying to run you over? Fall from the sky while being picked apart by cranes, or do you just want to eat until you die? Like, which would you prefer? I think I would take the eat.
Is there another option? Like, do I have to pick from this
No,
list?
there's no other options. I'm looking at the screen. I don't think we have another option right now.
I'm gonna stall long enough until another option shows up.
I do see that we have Fraggle attempting to get in some blowfishes on that Magimaster.
No, it's not gonna work. You've committed to the bit.
Yeah, you have to at this point. Like, I don't think he has another option. Rasp is really the only thing that's going to kill Magimaster. Because while he occasionally hits himself, he heals himself also. So you really don't get an answer that solves it.
Oh no, Sky Piranhas.
Speaking of, like, ongoing fights, we now have Sky Piranhas that you have to fight for anywhere from 10 seconds to 90 seconds. No idea how long, but Sky Piranhas are attacking. There you go. Here's option 5. Would you like Sky Piranhas?
See, the problem is that wouldn't even be a quick fight. It's like it would take me 70 seconds or a quick death. It would be 70 seconds to die.
I have to say, Sky Piranhas, though, is probably one of the funnier images you can get from all of these. Falling through the sky and all of a sudden Piranha.
I had a friend who died while skydiving. Oh no, did the parachute not deploy? No, there were Sky Piranhas, man.
Yeah, I had a friend who took a train and, they died during the trip. Oh, was there an accident on the trip? It's like, no, a giant flying monster just flew in and picked him up and flew off. Tried running away, but, it just seemed like it would never get away.
So Jack is doing a pretty good job of avoiding, like, I would say, the most annoying encounters. Because we have two people that are kind of stuck on this train right now.
Absolutely. We have two people stuck in a train. We have Fraggle, who has been falling for, I have entirely lost track at this point for how long. And he's about to go find out Doomgate, so I hope he's prepared for that. Yeah, Jackamus has just kind of thankfully avoided every one of the, hard to say, pitfalls at this point.
The old man is not gonna live. You've committed to this. That's it.
Oh, Fraggle. It's definitely a situation where it would have been so much faster to just walk out and try and get the reflect strat off. It looks like now he's doing Runic, attempting to do Runic, while also getting Blowfish. So maybe this will still work.
All this does is slowly deplete the other total.
Absolutely, Knutson.
This is just...
Welcome to the Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide. We have infinitely falling waterfalls, doom gazes for trains that you ride, and flying piranhas.
So Jack picks up an Aegis shield too, which is pretty nice, since he has been mostly throwing his shields into enemies as hard as he can. The extra defense will come in.
I mean, if you've got shields to break, it's never that bad of an option. Does Magimaster cast Doom? I was not aware of this.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently Magimaster also casts Doom. That's fine.
Yeah, there is, at the end of the elemental spell cycle, there's a mute followed by a doom.
Okay, I almost couldn't see what Jackamus was fighting. parasites were just blending into the background. I wasn't unsure of what exactly you.
Yeah, yeah. I was just like, wait a minute.
We've got two Doomgaze fights going on that are very different. Especially with that her shield still ticking down the timer. There's so much going on. I'll take a minute since these fights have been going on for a bit. I'll just walk you through kind of what we've got. So if you do the open world version of the randomizer, all of the seed is available. You can go into the World of Balance, World of Ruin freely, along with the Floating Continent. If you are in gated, the only change this does is that some of the fights, the locations are really based on characters. So, for example, you can't go to the Magic of the Floating Continent without Shadow. You can't go to the Sealed Cave without Terra, and you can't go to Fnatic's Tower without Shadow. But you can freely go between World of Balance and Ruin. Bosses tend to be shuffled, if not randomized. And most everything is accessible. And we've got a lot of other changes coming up. Add a lot more options.
Alright, Jack is making pretty steady progress through this now. Already up to 10 Espers, and the Velcave is a pretty straightforward check.
Absolutely. This is one of those situations where he was rewarded by taking those early fights that he broke those shields on. He's got the levels now. He has flair to get through any boss that he doesn't have a situation for. He can definitely make it through anything. That is a dead Magimaster. Absolutely. I did not see whether that was through Rasp or through Blowfish. But either way, absolutely gonna say right now, congratulations to Fraggle for making it through that ridiculous fight.
So another question in chat, you need 12 Espers to complete the game. The completion requirements are different. You need a certain amount of characters and a certain amount of Espers, which can be set in the randomizer settings in order to enter Kefka's Tower. After that, you may be required to fight a certain number of dragons, although I believe that's 0 for the seed.
0 for the now one to further complicate what appears to have been a very annoying seed.
So the goal is to sort of get your party up to speed while collecting everything that you need. And so we've got 3 characters and 12 Espers required for the seed. 7 and 10 are usually our standard race settings, and we've had a Battle Royale tournament that recently used 8 and 12.
Yeah, and that was actually part of my reason for this. So I wanted to try, you need 3 characters as the minimum for the game, because you have to have 3 parties going. Never set it lower than 3. But the idea was that if you have no character requirement, theoretically, if you start with, say, Shadow, Cyan, Terra, and Celeste, you could have enough checks that give you Esper. But you may only have 4 characters and get 10 or 12 Esper. So I liked the idea that basically instead of having to force people to go find 7 characters, you go find 10 or 12 Espers. You're likely going to find 5 to 7 characters anyway in that time. But it's not a requirement.
What's brutal is that if either Future Force or Entity had purchased a couple of Flame Shields, this would be one of the easier fights to deal with. It's just Doomgaze's natural magic defense is so high that rods feel like the fastest way to get through that fight quite
Absolutely. That being said, they could still grind through it, which is nice. Entity does have the advantage also that he does have that cursed shield, so even if nothing else, he can do those 8 fights, get that cursed shield uncursed. He'll have all elemental absorption, and if he really has to, he can learn ult. So he has a way through this fight. It may take a little bit of grinding, but he is in no way stuck. Future Force, on the other hand, Umaro will kill that Doomgaze eventually. As I stated.
No, not the auction house.
Yes, the
No.
auction house. I don't care about your RNG. You will eventually get the Esper. It is the best.
Oh.
The auction house, I absolutely understand your response. There has been the situation where you go in and it takes 10 checks to get it, and I've had the situation where 2 checks in a row and you're good. Although, I will say, it looks like he is actually going for the guaranteed World of Ruin strat. I thought he was in World of Balance. It just...
Oh, World of Ruin is definitely increases your odds because there's 2 slots. But,
well, you can guarantee it.
Yeah,
you can just buy out everything at the auction house, and you will eventually get the Espers. Whereas in World of Balance, it's just always an RNG.
Yeah, I guess the only other problem too is if the imps are available, you can sometimes get stuck with those too. So here's your second chest. You've just spent 50k on a Bioblaster. I hope you like your 30k relic.
I mean, it might sell for more than that. We don't know. Auction houses tend to sometimes sell things a little underpriced. Maybe he got lucky.
It's not a police auction.
I mean, I didn't say he was likely going to get a good deal. Just that he probably got. Well, the Bioblaster sold for 3. The Relic Ring sold for 20. So it's only a net loss of 40,000 or 47,000.
Oh god, this feels like I'm watching like Storage Wars or something.
You got 2 people. They know they're not bidding like a good price at this point, but they have to win it. They're too far in. Can I just take this moment to apologize for this seed? Like, I thought this was gonna be a fun setting. I have been proven wrong.
I think this would have been fine if a few people wouldn't have been caught on the back foot, like
That Doomgaze. Although
that Doomgaze is pretty mean, but you should have seen it coming, you know?
And that is one of those things where, you know, if people decide that they want to keep the public spoiler logs, people get a little bit more used to, say, either checking the bosses or maybe getting a little bit more information. But I am going to bring it back to the point where Future was struggling with Doomgaze, and guess what got him through it? It was Umaro. Umaro tore him through that last bit. I'm going to keep defending my boy. He absolutely is a beast in every seed.
So I feel like Equipable Umaro is pretty legit. The Bone Club is kind of not super fun to deal with. I feel like that kind of throttles his potential, but when you can get something that like has a ton of just has a ton of attack power, or is, pretty unique to throw around. Like, imagine Umaro with a sniper. It's just terrifying.
Oh, absolutely. Or actually, if you give him... I'm trying to think of what you'd have to do for this. Give him an Illumina or whatever weapon. I don't really care at this point. I'm about to describe. You give him a Thunder Shield and the Snow Muffler. The 3 elements aren't going to hurt him. He's going to absorb 2 of them and ignore the 3rd one, I believe, with Snow Muffler. And he's going to do, if you give him a Rage Ring, I think he also absorbs fire, or at least nullifies it. He's going to do defense ignoring attacks. So you don't even need, say, the Valiant Knife or the, or the Atma weapon that ignores defense, because Umaro himself just does that.
Alright, so at 104, our first runner hopping into Kefka's Tower, and looks like a pretty good setup so far.
Absolutely. I have to say, this was supposed to be a harder seed with, because, the randomized shops can throw things around. The 12 Espers required is definitely something that was meant to make it a little harder. It did give him the 3-character start, which was different. But this might actually be, obviously, a little unique to Jackamus, where our other 2 runners are. But might actually be one of the faster seeds we've done then.
So we've got Jack in the middle path, apparently with like a level 5 and a level 3 guy. So have we seen Phantom Train yet? Because that may be like something you can instant kill.
That is a really good point. I did not even think about the potential that if you know there's an insta kill boss in Kefka's Tower, I'm gonna actually look that up now because that is a question. Why did he go in there with that? That is, in fact, a goddess has turned into a ghost train. So yeah, you can go into Kefka's Tower with a level 3 and level 5 party because you know you can throw a Phoenix down. This is probably the last week that anyone could pull this off, so I'm really glad to see it.
Oh, that's just brilliant.
So, yeah, with boss experience, one of the things that I usually like doing is you have your 1 high-level character, 2 low levels. When you kill the boss, if you keep them alive for it, they tend to get like 15-20 levels. That's not amazing. That's usually enough that if they make it into Kefka's Tower because someone gets calmness or someone, gets unfortunately doom dusked or something like that at the end of the fight, you can come in with another character that has a decent level to try and actually, get through that with an extra character that may not be amazing, but can do a little bit of extra. The idea of throwing a level 3 and a level 5 character into Kefka's Tower with the sole point of doing Phoenix down on a Phantom Train and nothing else, though, is an entirely different level.
It's absolutely hilarious. I just love the idea of this.
Let's see what else we got going. Got Mr. Entity's back to the Doom fight. We have Fraggle, still wandering around. I think he's at 7 characters for Esper. So he's got plenty of characters. He just has to find a few more Espers. Or quite a few, but that is a really rude tentacle. Or 2 really rude tentacles, actually. I believe they eventually discard. I don't think Jackmas is just...
Yeah, they eventually will discard, but this is one of the more annoying fights to run into when you just have a duo.
Or even when you have more people, if you don't kill them quick enough, they will just keep grabbing on. It's not the best situation. And eventually... Looks like Fraggle went into the Opera House. I think we saw was not too difficult to fight, so that should be pretty good to get through.
Yeah, Jack showing off, hey, you've got Morph, all you really need are levels then.
I mean, Morph solves all problems? I think the answer is Morph solves all problems. You have a Sabin with some different blitzes going on in Fraggle's corner, which is always nice to see. I personally still have no idea. I know how to use his first and last blitz, but I don't really know a lot of his other. It's always nice to see when somebody's tabbing on. Actually, here's a question. Is suplexing the Phantom Train just a really funny thing to see, or does that actually kill the train?
It's just a matter of it does a lot of damage. It's funny, and 2, suplex does more damage if there's only one enemy on the screen. So it is going to do a ton of damage early on. So if you're playing vanilla and you don't know that you can just insta kill Phantom Train, it's a pretty good option.
Always fair. I'm still really excited to see Jackamus pull off this really, really weird strategy. Just one of those things that I never... Like, that's not something you'd be able to do without that spoiler log, knowing the Phantom Train. Finished off the for caves. Future Force is doing Low Blizz. Fraggle's finishing off the Opera House and fighting Yeti, who just wants to be in a play. Like, had to interrupt his. Let's see where the problem is.
Just it's nepotism in the casting call.
I mean, somebody's got to stand up for what the theater really should be like, right?
Yeah, nobody wants to give this this shaggy-haired upstart a shot.
That's the real reason why you never see any Bigfoot pictures anymore. It's not whether or not he exists. It's just people decided, you know what? You don't look good in these photos or on the theater, so we're just not going to take pictures of you.
Alright, Jack is climbing around with a bunch of stooges here. This is a pretty straightforward fight once you get close.
Absolutely, yeah. Once you don't see that life 3 anymore, not a whole lot to worry about with that. Gotta take that Illumina, punch them until they run away. I believe, is it Mo or the other one that if they're the only one left, they will actually run away instead of finishing?
It's I think it's Larry.
Okay,
that runs
yeah,
away.
I know that if you kill 2 of them, one of them does just run away from the fight, which is... Umaro is down in Fraggle, so that play is ended. We have an Ultros. We have Chupon Ultros this time. So that's a little bit different.
It's most of the time it's an easy fight, but it's still nothing to sneeze at.
I did just see Future Force put a Genji glove and a fixed dice on Umaro. I'm not sure how well that actually works because of his throw attack, but I'm really excited to see it.
It works reasonably well. I've put a Valiant Knife and an Offering on him before, and he's done Umaro things. So.
Umaro is good at doing one thing. If you let him do his thing, he will kill enemies. What he does. Also have Entity in the tower, which I know he's not a fan of. When you've got that magic only, those fights get a lot more complicated. Can't even do a fight commit.
Alright, meanwhile, Jack is throwing the Illumina around. So, it's one of the nice things about Kefka's Tower is you could just juggle equipment through pocket dimensions.
Pocket Dimension's the best of it. I mean, if you have an Offering and a fixed dice, if you really need to get through every boss, it will eventually get you through every boss, so... can't really complain about that. Although, actually, sorry, going back to Entity, he is doing the dragon at the Magimaster, or at the Fanatics Tower. So, this is an interesting choice. He'll get a lot of experience from it.
It's kind of interesting watching Future Force and Entity, because they just seem to continually run into each other's locations.
Yeah, they're kind of, one's following the other. You know, Maverick, I'm not actually sure if Berserking Umaro gives him any additional damage. Sounds like something I want someone to do science on. I believe so.
I think that would prevent him from doing his specials, but other than that,
That's
a good science
that is
question.
not necessarily a bad thing, especially if you have, say, done, you know, an offering and Valiant Knife or Fixed Knife. You actually want him to do his basic attacks rather than his specials anyways. Ravlin says they're still coded as fight, so I don't think it would actually do that. Does he get no damage bonus, though? No question. Because I know Berserk does do a little bit of that. Also, with Fraggle, I love how we have Sky Piranhas and Sky Eel. Just everything's in the sky.
Yeah, I mean, he's going through the Sky Trench right now.
Yes, absolutely. That is the name of that check. It is the Sky Train. I can't believe I forgot. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, anytime.
I can't wait to see this Jacquemus fight. That is a ghost train. I know I won't see the suplex of Sabin, but that is a level 3 and 5 or 5 and 8, I think. Character in Kefka's Tower fighting a level 30, 40.
Oh, he tried to do it. He tried
did
to do
try.
it.
I really appreciate that. He tried until that Berserk happened.
Oh, Jack, I'm very proud of you. Thanks for doing that for the memes.
Either way, though, that's still an obscene strategy, and I have to ask him about that after. Did forget about the Sky Cranes. Sky Crane. And Tower Octopuses, I think? Yes, that is the top Magic Master. Umaro doesn't care for your Magic Master. He's just going to fight anyway.
You know, Mr. Entity, despite, running into all of these roadblocks, levels are looking pretty good. That experience egg is doing a whole lot of work.
So that's actually one of those things with the experience egg is definitely doing. But that is also one of those things with unscaled dragons. They have a lot more health. They do a lot more damage, but if you can get through that fight, you will get a lot of experience. So it looks like we do have Jacquemus starting the fight. He's giving himself Golem, I assume to protect himself from taking too much damage. He did go in, I believe, low 30s for his levels. Otherwise, just trying to get that as best he can.
Yeah, making good use of the Golem Esper there. He's got Fenrir already in tow, so might as well throw this one out to eat some damage.
Absolutely. Yeah, take the instant kill on the right arm, throw some damage to the head so you don't get the quake counter, and then all you got to really worry about is that head. I've never actually had to do much to it.
It's killed me before, and after fallen one. I've forgotten about it the entire fight, and then oh yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, if you get poisoned or you have slipped it, and then go to fallen one, and you're thinking you're fine, and all of a sudden you have a 24 damage proc, and it's oh well, that was just.
All right, Sky Piranhas are down.
Sky Piranhas are down. Tower Ultros is gone. Got everyone's dealing with their Sky or Crown-based shenanigans. Can't complain about that. quite a bit of damage, but it should be able to... Got the offense.
Yeah.
From taking...
Yeah, the counters can be pretty brutal, but once you get through this part of the fight, it feels like 10 hits and calmness are really the big ones that you're worried about.
Yeah, so some things I've definitely picked up with this. Dooming the Magitech is useful. And then doing the... if you're at a 10 hits early, so you don't have a 10 hits as the last bit before you die, or you go on to the next part, because you don't want to take a 10 hits, lose 2 characters, and go on to face, or even be low health and make the fight win.
Yeah, so speaking of dooming Magitech, there's no Doom available, but there is a Soul Saber, so time to just poke it repeatedly until it dies.
Will eventually go away. And yeah, so Jack has actually had a few things here that's really been to his benefit. The first one is, I do not believe he went to any dead checks, which is an advantage of having the spoiler log available. He knows which checks are going to get out. He did avoid Magimaster, which was a struggle, but I'm glad that Fraggle did eventually get through. Not deal with Doomgaze, both Mr. Entity and Future fought and then had to grind through. They did eventually beat him, so they didn't have to reset out of the check entirely. And it did burn a lot of time.
Oh boy, that's not good for Jay.
I will say, this phase I have found in the last couple times I've run it, it's really taught me to worry about it, because that Doom Tusk can really hurt you. You don't have Revivify, and hits can absolutely wipe you. Freezing and stone also causes some problems. So, ribbons are the best. Are the answer to everything.
Old man is out of MP here. There's a lot of status on tap, and yeah, Doom does not seem to be proccing for Jack, so feels kind of bad, but he's kind of invested in the strategy at this point.
I mean, the good news is that regardless of the strategy, Umaro is doing what Umaro does. He is going to continue swinging in for 4k a turn. You may have to effectively do as many hits as taken to kill Magitech anyways, but he'll eventually die.
Yeah, and so this is one of the sort of downsides with the low level sort of strategy is you end up having to take things apart on kind of a single target basis, whereas this fight is much easier if you have some sort of source of strong AoE like Ultima.
Yeah, that is true. I'm trying to go through and single target down the individual enemies can be a real struggle. You have a situation where you can take down, say, just the one that's really dangerous, like 10 hits, and then you can just AoE everything. Which, he does have Bolt 3, and it looks like he has actually given up on the Soul Saber strat, so it will kill it eventually.
Yeah, it looks like Tusk is already dead, so, and that's kind of the big scary fight.
Yeah, that's the statuses that he can get if no. Absolutely. If you Doom Tusk, especially something that is about to do an attack, or especially a multi-target attack, and all of a sudden you have your own teammate doing massive damage to yourself. There's really no response to it. Not a great situation to be in. You have, looks like Fraggle escaping the continent. He did decide to go for the third fight, which is well, so that's not a problem. Future Force is clearing out the Opera House, which we do know is the Umaro. So it's to it. That shouldn't be too big of a problem for him. Let Umaro on Umaro fight happen.
So Mr. Entity, it looks like just got done with the tunnel armor fight and also found a Ragnarok somewhere. So maybe just looked at the boss and thought, you know, hey, this is a dead check, but this is pretty good too. Especially if you're rolling a Genji glove with Ragnarok and Illumina. Who needs a shield?
Oh, for sure. I think that's also why Future went for the fixed dice in the Mobliz, is while you do have a really annoying fight with that, you know, losing two bosses or two characters before you even do the boss fight, walking out with a fixed dice is always an upside to me.
Yeah, that is one of the. If you compare that with an offering, it's a genuine victory condition. But even if you don't, that will get you over the hump for a fair amount of early bosses, where you just need somebody that can do, you know, a consistent 1k of damage like every turn.
Absolutely, and Fragen did correct us. He actually got that from killing the dragon in Fnatic's Tower. So that was a really good reward for doing that. And so that's one of those things with the item rewards you get for killing dragons. No longer one of the Esper. Really can get some amazing items, and especially in Unscaled, you get a ton of experience. You always get a huge chunk of MP given to you. Dragons really are just a ton of use.
Jack is resorting to all kinds of creative things to just get through this phase 2 fight in good shape for the next tier.
Absolutely, and this is one of those times where, you know, arguably he probably would have been doing, would have gotten through this faster if he'd done a little bit of grinding, instead of trying to rush into this tower super. He did get the easy Phantom Train kill, but this Kefka fight itself is pulling out every stop it can.
Well, I guess the other thing too is it was kind of the things that you tend to buy that are useful throughout the entire seed, like your earrings, for example, or your Atlas armlets. They were not super easy to get because of the random prices.
Yeah, and that was one of the things where the random distortion gives you a little bit more expectancy of what you're looking into. You know that you're going to be, like, if you find an experience egg, you know roughly how much it's going to cost. If you find fixed dice, you know roughly. With it being random like this, you know, I did say there were 10,000 GP Thunder Shields available. So while nobody went and bought a ton of those, at least on stream, that can give you options that you would not normally have if you only do random portions that are pricey. That being said, everything could be 50k plus, and that might not help at all.
So I'm actually very interested in seeing how this phase plays out, because a lot of times the best strategy for getting through this fight is to start doing like max damage attacks right before the Meteo phase. And Jack kind of doesn't have that option.
Yeah, his Umaro will eventually do damage to the girl and kill it. But it also will do half of its attacks on the guy. So it's kind of hard to figure out where that target's going. It does look like the girl is dead. He just has to try and get through. And also I just saw, it does look like we did have one person finish with sub 130, so this seed, I guess, other than the roadblocks, was not nearly as difficult as I kind of expected it. I was thinking this would be a longer seed than our normal race. But it looks like this actually went pretty quick.
I feel like a lot of the time up front is kind of spent on, well, I'm going to check these chests and I'm going to go shopping. And it's certainly valuable for a lot of your early runs, and being able to do that quickly is kind of important too. But when you have the spoiler log and you can just kind of rip through that early going, that saves a lot of time on the front end of the seed.
Absolutely, and you just get that situation where you're looking at, it's like, okay, I've got some gold. What can I buy in the shops? Can I buy a flame shield? Can I buy, 6 dice? Can I buy offering? You can look pretty quick and know if it's even worth going and shopping.
Yeah, Jack having no trouble with this. Just time to start throwing bolts in.
Yep, this does show one of the downsides of Umaro, where once he gets through half of his health, he will have to deal with potential counters due to Umaro attacking. But it will be pretty consistent damage that he can count on until Umaro loses.
So healing everybody back up to full, not really taking any chances. I don't think anybody is in position to eat a hyperdrive and live, but that would help them take a physical at least.
Yeah, and I believe can hyperdrive be blocked by Golem?
I don't know if hyperdrive can be blocked by Golem. It can certainly be runic, but I think he would rather have Celeste just do damage at this point.
Yeah, Bolt 3 is definitely his one of his main damage. So just trying to queue through as many of those while he waits for Goner phase. Let that Illumina and Umaro just kind of carry him through as much as he can.
Alright, finally gets a proc, so this is going to do big damage.
Speaking of not being able to eat a hyperdrive, though, you were correct on that that guess of the HP, of whether they'd survive it or not.
Yeah, that's such a brutal attack, so there's not really much you can do about it. With plenty of life too to go around, though, easily recover from it.
Absolutely, yeah. He just needs to get as much damage as he can in during the Goner phase, and cure himself back up, because he does have a cure of 3, so that's not really too big of an issue. I do like that we do have that fire chicken fight in the top right, though, while we look at Kefka.
Get the whole angry red theme going on here.
Absolutely. Except one pretends to be a god. And that is the flash for Jack. So we can see if he wants to come in and chat about his opinions of this scene.
Yeah, get your GGs out for Jack, finishing with a time of right around 133.
If I can switch real quick, but I am glad to see how well that went for him.
Yeah, just while we got a second, just want to say thanks to Rafaelos for also doing the restreaming tonight, and thanks to Franklin for doing the tracking as well.
It is absolutely something I'm glad to do and glad to see, because I always get to spend this week kind of watching and seeing chests and everything that I did not know where they were beforehand. So I get my own benefits out of it.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going, Jack? GG.
Cool with yourself?
Congratulations on the seed. It looks like you had a lot of fun there.
Yeah, for the most part, it was pretty fun. I kind of found the spoiler log a little distracting. If we had, maybe 20 minutes to look at it before the race instead of 10, because there was a lot of time where I wasn't really playing.
Absolutely, that's actually something.
I don't have 2 monitors like fancier
It's actually something we've seen with a few people, is where they've paused, where it looks like they were checking the spoiler seed and seeing what was going on. So I can see what you mean by distracting for sure. But overall, what did you think of having the spoiler log?
Well, it made it a heck of a lot easier to get really powerful at the start.
Oh, by
That's for
knowing
sure.
where to go shopping and where to go get items?
Yeah, I don't think I abused the shops as much as I could have. I just kind of saw that I saw what our starting party was, and one of Strago's checks had an Illumina and an Esper, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do that. And then the boss is really easy, so it's like, okay, I'm gonna do that like right away. What else do I have? Oh, I can get Terra right away. Well, there's my offense for the seed taken care of. I'll wing it from there, kind of. Though I have to say, I'm a little disappointed that the Phantom Train berserk Sabin as I was entering the suplex command.
Yeah, we did notice
We were
that.
all watching that one. Because that's one of the things that I've still never seen, and I'm really looking forward to, is one of these days to see the suplex on stream. But I was so excited, even if you didn't get that, to
Well, I sent 2 babies up that path because I knew the boss was free, so I thought it'd be funny to have Sabin suplex at first, but no dice.
yeah, that was some.
And then I also I saw that someone not on the stream finished when I was in tier 2, so I tried to show off permanent morph for fun, but stop wouldn't stick until I ran out of morph juice, and then I had to waste some time waiting for it to wear off for nothing. Little disappointing.
That being said, I'm actually surprised by how quick, the two of you finished this seed. I actually thought this seed was going to be not necessarily much harder, but at least a little bit harder than our typical race settings. But it looks like with faster times than we've had in our normal race, especially if you take out the power skips, still having not just one but 2 people in less than 1 hour and 35 minutes. That's pretty fast for this seed, I think.
I knew it was going to be a fast one. Like, in the 10 minutes that I had a look, other than deciding my start, I noticed that most of the bosses that were on the path were not particularly difficult. So, like, everything you needed to complete the seed was in Fanatic's Tower. You get an Illumina and an Esper with Bolt 3. That's really all you need for offense there.
Absolutely, and we also saw with Mr. Entity
That's all I did the whole seed. Bolt 3 and Illumina strikes, basically. And some fun with Umaro, because I'm thinking, well, I know I'll be fine with these 3 characters. Umaro can just come along for the ride, for the memes. Why
I
not?
appreciate it. I did see also when Mr. Entity went through, he actually also took down the dragon. And if you take down the dragon there, you also got Ragnarok. So
yeah, I saw that too, but something no one told me before the race, and that ended up costing me probably 10 minutes or more. Terrancelli's didn't have natural magic, so that bit me in the ass quite a few times as I was playing through this one. Because I'm thinking, well, it'll be fine. I have, warp now. Oh, wait, no, I don't. Oh, I actually have to learn cure spells now? Great. Oh, I don't have, Fire 3 or Ice 3 at the end of the game. This sucks.
I apologize for forgetting to mention that one. I forgot that I had changed that setting entirely.
Well, then it's your fault I didn't win. How does
I'm
that
okay with
sound?
that. Well, and that was the thing. So there were a few changes I wanted to try. No natural magic, I think, is interesting, because while it does take away from Celeste and Terra especially,
Honestly, it's fine to take away from them because natural magic is just icing on the cake for them. They're 2 of the best characters even without it.
Morph and Relic are really just obscene abilities anyways. So if you throw on top of that having natural magic, it's not necessarily, a make or break situation, but it could be really nice to see, both a little bit more balance and seeing Espers matter a little more even for those.
The very final fight against Kefka, he, for some reason, didn't use counters when I had a runic up. So I ended up runicking my cure, and then Umaro attacked him, and I thought this could be really bad. But Umaro killed him. So it's all good.
Umaro is one of those things that he has those times where counters are just the worst part about him, but he will always consistently throw damage until he dies, so not a terrible option to have him.
Especially not when a Rage Ring is available early and not off the beaten path at all. That put a lot of extra oomph into his attacks and gave him more elemental resistances.
Oh, absolutely. And then we did see that you had skipped the in the Returner's Hideout. There's a cave in the back. It actually had an experience egg.
Yeah, I hate going to that chest. It's so out of the way.
Definitely understand that.
See, something that's not in the spoiler log is chest contents, I noticed. So maybe I would have checked that if I knew it was there, but as far as I can tell, what's inside the treasure chest is not in the spoiler log right
And
now.
that's one of those things where, chests are one of those things. I like them being a gamble. Do you go out of your way to pick them up, or do you have enough gear and you just kind of keep them?
Well, if you have an Illumina and a couple Aegis shields, you can basically get away with just about everything.
Absolutely. And yeah, looking at the spoiler log some more, it does show the Coliseum rewards, but it does not show chest comp, which is kind of fair. I would imagine they'd have a really tough time trying to categorize or list through all of the chests and what they were. But
Yeah.
yeah,
This must have been an interesting one to watch in comms, because I think everyone would have just taken off in completely crazy different directions.
we have had that. We had some really interesting situations. We did have a very long Magimaster fight, along with Doomgaze at Phantom Train was a definite roadblock for a couple of our racers.
Yeah, I elected not to go to those places. Like, I didn't really have anything good to deal with Magimaster. Like, if I had Berserk, I mean, I could have just Berserked and put the controller down and let Umaro go to town, but otherwise I'd be picking up Reflect Rings and waiting forever and not using Umaro, and it was like, I'll just go to the auction house. I hate the auction house, but I did need to pick up a few consumables in town, so I justified it that way.
And the World of Ruin auction house, I think, it's always going to eventually pay off if you have the gold.
Just had to spend 50k on a Bioblaster, no big deal.
Yep, something that's kind of nice about just the completely random sale prices is that your tonics might sell for like 20 grand. They might cost that much, but you can really min-max your inventory a lot easier this way, since you don't have so many items that are both junk and sell for nothing. If you're not going to use it, chances are you can get 10 grandish out of it, so that was fun.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, I think that's the smallest inventory I've ever finished a seed with. I had like 8 different types of consumables and like 2 or 3 of them each, and like just a couple pieces of gear that I tried to make use of, but at least against tier 2, the Soul Saber refused to proc the death spell for me, so that was a little annoying.
Did see that also, yes. Trying to get through on that one. And I think you had 2 people who had Soul Sabers you were trying to get off on it?
I only had the one, but I had passed it around a bit. Like, I had given Celes the Illumina because I knew Atma was coming up, and just in case some shenanigans there.
That's what it was.
I headed on Terra to start, and then whenever my complete failure to activate permanent morph happened, I gave it over to Celes so she could keep trying to proc it while Terra sat there and was useless for a few turns.
So, different question though, as far as the different seeds go. What did you think of the Espers with spells being a random section?
Well, one thing I like is that you can't just, be guaranteed to get Ultima on an Esper. Like, it wasn't available in this seed, unless you did Curse Shield, and I don't even know what the battles are on that.
It was 8,
8?
yeah, and that's actually in the spoiler log, which is really useful.
Oh, I didn't know that. That may have changed my route entirely. Because, I mean, you could get Locke right away, because he was at Ebbets Rock, but I'm like, I don't like Ebbets Rock. What else can I do? Well, I can get Terra and Celes easy, and they open up enough checks that I should be fine.
Yeah, that was actually one of the, I think, the choice that Entity either made or saw the Curse Shield counter, as he went through Ebbets Rock, even though I know he doesn't like it very much. He ended up going through the rock and getting the Curse Shield immediately afterwards, so...
Yeah.
On a side note, I'm really, whether you decided to leave after phase 2 because you didn't need the other rewards or not, I did just watch Fraggle go through both Goddess and Guardian at the end of Magitech Factory. So it looked
You only needed Espers to complete this one. So the Espers were at the first 2, and then I'm thinking I can fight 2 late game bosses to get a character I'm never going to use and probably isn't going to save me time on his checks overall. So no.
absolutely fair. So did you like then having no character requirement and just the Espers? I mean, realistically, we still got
Yeah,
up
I
to
did, actually.
7-8 characters for most people, but
I probably could have finished with less characters than I had if I parsed some of the information better or was willing to gamble on the auction house more. But I don't know. It ended up working out the way it did. It might be interesting to try like a 9 characters but no Espers required sometime. Do the inverse and see how that goes.
That's true, yeah. It's definitely an interesting option. I do like the idea.
But yeah, no need to actually go out of your way to look for characters. It was an Esper hunt. It was different, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where I always prefer the Esper hunts because there are so many checks that either guarantee or are more likely to be Espers, such as obviously the auction house, Zen in the woods. There's a few checks you can kind of go do that you can pretty reliably get an Esper out of. I mean, you're definitely not getting a character. So Espers I always feel like I want to be looking for at the end of the seed, rather than characters that could be, any number of checks.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that was pretty fun. I think I might pop out unless you guys had any other questions for me there.
Well, specifically, thank you very much for coming in for the interview and doing the run. Glad it went well, even if there were a few roadblocks for you.
And you are entirely to blame for those, sir.
I'm completely okay with that. I'm glad to have rolled a interesting seed, if nothing else. That is always my favorite goal.
All right. Well, I'm out of here. Let's go, Bruins!
All right, GG to Jack, and we see Fraggle tumbling through the burning house right now, which we didn't see anybody else do, interestingly enough. That's usually a pretty quick check, so...
Yeah, I'm wondering if they knew what the reward was, and that's why. I do like what Fragile mentioned. There was just a light of creation just hitting this building, and it's collapsing, it's on fire. There's a child in there. Let me just go to the store first. I just want to sell, let me go through. Maybe I want to sell this piece of equipment. Maybe I want to take care of this. Then I'll go take care of the child. I need the gold to protect myself, right?
Listen, I gotta do the shopping first. I'll hit this up on the way. We're just being efficient.
Exactly. You wouldn't want to run back. Looks like Excalibur was why we didn't see a lot of other people go for it.
Come on, it's great when Shadow throws it.
It is great when Shadow throws it. I'm not going to disagree there. It's not a terrible weapon. Oh, it looks like Fraggle just found the Thunder Shields though and bought 9 of them. So I think we might be seeing a little more with that here soon.
Yeah, a lot of times the Excal just feels like Stat Stick Junior.
Yeah, it's not the best thing to find. I will agree with that, but it is a bossless check that gives you an item that can do some damage and might sell pretty well. So I feel like Collapsing House is not, necessarily a terrible option in most situations. And we are back to Future following Entity through those checks. Entity has just finished the Magitech factory, and Future is now running into it. A little bit going on there. Fnatic's Tower on Fraggle. You know that gives a good reward, as we just talked about, with too hard to fight. Do have Entity going down the waterfall, so we're gonna see how. Speaking of Fnatic's Tower and Magimaster, we're gonna see how that goes.
Oh, it should be good. Maybe we got some fixed dice here.
I did see at least future pickup fixed dice in the towers. That is a thing. Like he is going to just swing in with the Illumina. Oh, and he's got Flare. So yeah, he's going to go down one of the more traditional routes with Magimaster. Cast Flare multiple times. Doesn't matter what he's immune to. And non-elemental is the answer to that. So, what is the strength of Illumina that people are going for? So, that want it so much?
Mostly it's one, the most powerful physical attack in the physical weapon in the game, and two, it auto crits. So that's pretty much all that you need. The damage procs are kind of icing on the cake, but as you can see, sometimes they don't do anything, like in Mr. Entity's case.
And that is true, especially with it being Magimaster's extremely high defense. Other situations it probably wouldn't have quite as bad of an issue, but it does get through a little bit of damage in it. You like those Thunder Shields proccing for quad 9s on that on that ultra. Never knew what to expect.
No, I wasn't expecting the world's strongest Bolt 3, but here we are.
Yeah, I'm just glad at this point that someone went and bought some of those. Only 10k, they're cheaper than rods were in most. Glad to see. Dragon. Magimaster though does not want to go down, even with those flares. I guess with the fact that he has almost level 34, a lot of health. Takes a while to get.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is, he's just a ridiculously tanky boss no matter how you try to get rid of him. And it makes me happy that he doesn't have the ultimate counter most of the time.
Absolutely. And just to point out, Future is absolutely a man after my own heart, because that is Numaro with the Genji glove and 2 fixed icing.
That Yeti has a gambling problem.
You say gambling problem, I hear gambling opportunity. That is, it's very strong hit. You're getting the ignore defense attacks, or you're getting, fixed dice. One way or another, it's gonna hit pretty hard.
That's going to be pretty ridiculous, and it's just set it and forget it.
Absolutely, and if you get him an experience egg so that he gets to be tanky also, nothing to worry about. You have Blowfish has done a surprising amount of work. Typically when you see people start getting Bolt 3 or Fire 3 or any of those spells, you see a little bit less of it, but we have been seeing Blowfish both from Gao and Strago pretty consistently.
Yeah, we've been getting there 1,000 damage at a time. It doesn't feel good sometimes, but I mean, that's certainly one way to get through a lot of the road bumps at the beginning of the seed. I think by the end of the seed, hopefully you would have found something a little bit better, but it is an option if you are desperate.
Absolutely. And I think that's definitely one of those cases where I think Blowfish and Fixed Dice are very much the polar opposite. You know exactly how much damage you're going to do with Blowfish. Does not matter what you fight. It will always do the same damage. And then you have fixed dice that sometimes you'll swing and do 2 1,000 damage hits, or like just happened, you'll get quad 9s and 4,000 damage. And that will absolutely eat the fire chicken. I understand the reason why a lot of people like to avoid the fire chicken, or not the fire chicken, the fixed dice, but I know it's random, but I gotta say, looking for those quad 9s is just so much fun.
Yeah, it's just the inconsistency. I think if you had to pick between, like, am I gonna do a solid 4K every shot, or am I gonna roll the dice? I think you would take the 4K most of the time.
I would absolutely take the 4K. That's definitely a situation. Like, if it's a difference between, like, fixed dice or Fire 3 on a Terra, you know, you're going to take the Fire 3. But if you don't necessarily have a amazing damage dealer alternative, or if, say, you only have elemental attacks and so you don't have any physical attacks to really get Girl on, it can really help out quite a bit. I did just see Mithril Shield sell for almost 2.5 times the cost of Thunder Shield. That's always fun. Random pricing. Just to check in, you know, everyone, this is the Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide Randomizer. We do have a lot of different settings than our typical race this week. Atmotech has been doing a ton of work with the new update that is coming. There's going to be a lot of big changes. Things like Phoenix Downs no longer killing bosses, Espers being usable an unlimited amount of times. A lot of really exciting changes coming up. Some of those changes in the
Yeah, the alpha has come out with a lot of interesting features. I haven't really had a chance to mess around with them lately, but it's gonna mix things up quite a bit.
Absolutely, and I'm really hoping we see a lot more variety with these weekly races, because I think this is a good example of how some of the settings can change for a very different seed in general. Because this wasn't a situation where I changed one flag, and then, everything else is the same. This is, I think, a good example of how a seed can play out very differently when you have different flags. And that is a good point, Fragen. There's also going to be randomized commands you can do. So you could have theoretically, if you have random distribution, you could have 4 Ragers. You could have a lot more people with lore. You could have Runic on other characters. It's really useful. But at the same time, the other point of that, which that reminded me of, is effectively everyone is a blue mage now. So Strago and Gao will learn their respective either rage or lore from every enemy or attack that happens, which is very nice.
Yeah, and that's kind of a nice buff to 2 characters that really don't get a lot of love in the community, I would say.
Absolutely, and it's understandable, right? Because if you don't start with Gao and Strago, which is part of why I wanted to start this season, you can't necessarily tell what they get. So when you start with it, you can kind of look at it and be like, all right, I've got these rages and these lores. I can find out pretty quickly whether it's worth keeping that character around or switching it out for someone else. Whereas later in a seed, you would have to switch the character in, look at their rages, figure out if it's worth having that rage, and then level them up. So I can understand why in a lot of cases they're just not a good late choice option, because you don't know what they're worth without putting in a fair amount of time into it.
Well, this is kind of a rough place to run into Goddess for Future Force. When everybody is on one side, those AoE attacks feel that much worse.
Yeah, I mean, he is going into Goddess and will have to immediately afterwards fight the Guardian. So this is not the nicest fight he could be having for sure. Is a little unfortunate going through, but hey, it's one of those things where he's going to get a lot of experience. He's going to get another character, which has at least one free check and one... Daryl's Tomb's not too long to do. So, it does have its rewards for it. Yep, we have Fraggle in the tower. He is ready to go, it looks like. Didn't see his team distribution, but I'm sure we're gonna see some interesting spots on that because I know he's been actually using his Sabin too. Insty doing a little bit of shopping, it looks like. With, I think he just bought tents on Habit because those were 50,000 gold tents. Those were twice as expensive as a Mega Elixir. These shops are not nice to anyone, I'll tell you that. Drunk Walking Celeste. After that, Fire Chicken. Goddess, sorry. And then going through the tentacles, he does have 3 characters, so we don't have to worry quite as much about the grabbing that Jackness had to worry about. And, you know, without having Celeste there, and actually that is true of Fragen. I haven't looked too much into it, but there are other commands that you do not normally get with characters, such as, I believe, Shock and Break might be one of them, I think I heard. So not only are there different characters could have different commands, you could have entirely different commands than any character can currently run with, along with the sprites being able to be a bit randomized if you wanted to change the way people look. The one will probably start running with Final Fantasy IX characters. Sprites sounds like a lot of fun. Actually, I just realized because it is the crane fight, we have a guardian in the sky. So flying robots coming to kill us all, they will be fine when that happens. Fraggle has gone through the tentacles. That's going to be a problem. I'm curious as to whether he knows that there's going to be a Phantom Train at the... Either way, I'm sure he'll have a Phoenix down to take it down. Entity also looks like queuing up to go into the tower. That is going to be 2 people in the tower for us. Getting that. Be at different times. I think we have Entity a little bit better geared up because it does have the uncursed shield. It has the paladin shield. Has Ultima along with absorbing basically every element. Picking up that S from the end. Someone's got to be drinking. Not gonna be sad. Otherwise, though, yeah, we've got Future's just looking for 3 more Espers. Got quite a few places to check, so it's kind of hard to find them, but once he finds those last few, in a pretty good. Fraggle's looking to get his party through the tower, 4 more bosses, and then fighting Kevin. Entity got a little bit more to do. Got to walk through part of the little bit of a maze of the tower. Wouldn't be too bad. As I said, it does have a few more levels. A level 50 Celeste that more levels, definitely has gear for it. Didn't have too much trouble. Triplets on the top. Odd 9s for an ice. Not a little bit. One of them is immune to a different element. So it's very hard to try and AoE them down. What will hit 2 of them won't necessarily hit the third. Once you take out the top one, there's no longer the threat of Life 3. And so you don't have to worry about that anymore, and you can take down the other 2 without, or Life 2, sorry. Take down the other 2 without too much concern. Then that wall that just... does have fixed dice, so fighting is always an option in that sense. Course looks like is in the Leaf River. Be a pretty fight now that I think he can take through those magics. About to go fight some tentacles. Couldn't be a struggle. He's got Terra. So as long as he through with the elemental AoE, and probably a morph would take him down. Or that's going to be 2 quad 9 swords. I'm not actually sure what his Terra is swinging, but I don't think he has to worry about damage in any way, shape, or form anymore.
Oh, and Mr. Entity definitely has that extra, has the Illumina and the Ragnarok, so that's going to do a ton of damage going through here.
I was not expecting them to swing for quad 9s, gonna be honest.
Well, I mean, the individual tentacles, they just don't scale very well to the end game. So if you can get into them pretty fast, like that guy is the one that has all the physical defense, and he went down like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it looks like one of them was able to block some of the damage, but even then, 7,000 damage is still a lot. But going into Kefka's Tower at level 52 means that these bosses don't have too much of a trouble.
Yeah, and I think for anybody that's looking at this to try to figure out, you know, like what is a good strategy to use in a game if you're a newer player, when in doubt, just get more levels, because the level, the factor of levels in the damage calculations is kind of ridiculous, and you can see how just crazy strong any character is once you get them up to the level 50 and above.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of those things. The magic power espers are always great to see because then you can get people doing quad 9s at a little bit of a lower level. But strength espers almost really do nothing that 2 to 3 more levels wouldn't have done anyways.
Yeah, and if you can kind of get, you a couple of experience eggs going. Like, imagine an early start, a Cyan start with an experience egg, and he's going to be uncorking like 4K a shot with Quadra Slice.
Absolutely. And that is one of those things where Umaro and Cyan almost always have a physical strat basically built into the game. All of the others, it really depends on what you do with them. I believe most of Sabin's blitzes are magic power. Obviously with Terra, you want to do morph, so that's going to be magic power also. Realm just naturally has a super high magic power status. It really takes care of a lot of problems. And that is true, actually. Cyan comes with a box of really, really powerful stuff. You have Stunner, can absorb HP and MP from his enemies. He does have an instant death cleave, which is really good for phase 1 and phase 2. So Cyan is almost always a really
Yeah, and I think the major difference between, his usability here and his usability in vanilla is just how fast the sword tech meter charges. If it was the vanilla speed, forget it. No one would ever use it.
Oh, that's true. This is what, 8x or 4x? It's definitely an obscene difference. Vanilla and what is going on. Those 7,000 damage swords, though, with Terra, still carrying through everything. Experience egg to give a little bit more damage on it. That is useful. You are correct, though, Fragin. Magic power isn't completely useless on Cyan. Strength, more or less, still is, though. Still better just to have the extra level. About worrying about his strength.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got an extra like strength +1 Esper, sure, no problem. Throw it on the back burner there. But I mean, a lot of times you would feel better. You wouldn't feel too bad about having a speed Esper instead.
Speed Espers I have thrown to love. If you give Gao a speed Esper and then set him up on a Berserk, he will just absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the nice things about having characters with completely just jacked up speed, I mean, you get a ton of turns all the time, but it also means you have a character that's available to do weight tricking a lot, and that's super useful.
Absolutely, and I really hope. I think Fraggle is attempting to suplex the train. I'm really hoping that today's the day.
I mean, Sabin's the big power character here, so we'll see if he makes it happen. Is he trying to set up to kill the train with him?
I think he's trying to do the suplex and just is hitting the wrong buttons.
It's either that or this is like the long con. Like, this is just the biggest troll ever, and I'm here for it.
Nope, there it is. I'm so glad to finally. Oh, there it is.
It's so ridiculous.
I just love it. He just picks up the train and drops it on the ground.
Like, dude, don't drop it back on the track, dude. Just put it in the grass.
Just flip it over. It's like a turtle. If you have the Phantom Train on its back, it can't do anything. So glad to finally see that suplex. I've heard that talked about for so long, and finally see it.
Worth the price of admission.
On a different note, Future Force has suddenly went from like 9 Espers to 12 in the matter of like 10 minutes. I completely missed that, but I'm glad he's about to jump into the tower too.
Yeah, and he's collected a giant pile of levels too, so this shouldn't be too difficult. But it's kind of interesting to see everybody, choosing to go with different characters. It seems like certain runners have kind of comfort levels with certain other characters.
Absolutely, and I will say that, partially for the memes and partially just because I do like my Berserk. Partially from when I was playing Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise. I love Umaro, and will almost always, if I get him as in my first 4 or 5 characters, I will almost always take to Kefka's Tower, especially with an experience egg or a ring. It's not necessarily the highest damage dealer I could have, especially when you can, have another Fire 3 user. But I always love seeing Umaro make it through. And Gao definitely fits in with all of his. Although I've not learned all of his rages. To be honest, I tried. There's so many of them.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where if you want to do it, just commit to experimenting with them. If you're in a weekly race, that's a good time to just try out. Oh, what does this one have? And then you find out they have Merton, and it's oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Right, and there are one of those things with rages where if you pick the wrong one, and all of a sudden, the person's going to keep, using the element they absorb on them, it can cause some problems. But there are, I think, a lot of rages that are really don't be. Adderok is one of those. I don't think I'd ever seen in one of the weekly races, or at least not very often. But to finally see someone use it, Blowfish, really cool. Got Fraggle's got X Magic, so a gem box on Terra. Les, I think, just has her normal weapon. But mostly Bolt 2, it looks like, for damage, so he's got a little bit less damage, but he should be able to make it through this tower pretty well, if not a little slow. And then we have an entity actually going through and just starting the fight.
Alright, so this is gonna be pretty interesting. They're right on each other's heels, so yeah, this could come down to tower luck.
I will say that Mr. Entity is probably in the better position. He does have the Paladin Shield, Uncursed. Even if I don't actually see any ultimate in his spells. Did have the Uncursed Shield. I think he's got a few more levels, the way that he was doing things in order. But we do have, quite a lot available as far as that goes.
Yeah, and let's not forget Terra is swinging an Illumina and Ragnarok, so...
Absolutely. Looking for double, near quad 9s on every sword is an obscene amount of damage. It's definitely a huge advantage in his part because I don't think Fraggle has anything that does quite as much damage. So there's a good chance that Mr. Entity is going to get through this a little bit faster. Have Future officially going into the tower also, so we have all 3 of our racers in the tower. I think he went and stopped and got a quick Excalibur at the burning house before he went in. You have everyone in here.
Yeah, just a casual, just a casual Excal.
No, not a big deal. I mean, it's only hitting for 8,000 damage reliably on one of the characters, so it's fine. And yeah, just as an example, we've got the phase 1 to 2 transition on both Fraggle and Mr. Entity right now, even though Mr. Entity did start a little bit late. Definitely looking good for him. getting through all of those status effects. As soon as you get a couple down, it's not as bad. But having to get through, you know, Imp and Zombie and Mute and all of the things that can happen on this can be quite a pain. It's also interesting, I can see that they have different priorities in what they're doing. Fraggle is going for Tiger, whereas Mr. Entity is taking down the Magitech, and I'm not actually sure what the person in the back's name is.
So Magic is hanging out in the back too, and if you don't have, if you don't have Mute, that's not a bad idea. I guess the other thing too is it's kind of annoying. You could run into the possibility that, okay, now he's going to hit everyone with a quarter, and then followed up with the leadoff Merton on the next phase, and that could put you in some serious trouble.
That's fair, for sure. It's just interesting, because, you know, for me, like I said, I always go for Tiger. You know, I don't want to have that 10 hits later in the fight, and I don't want to have Doomtusk. So they're 100% my priority, even though they're fairly emo state. Ones that have hurt me the most.
Yeah, I guess everybody has kind of their trauma from fighting here. I distinctly remember Cyan hitting my own party after hitting Dust, and like, all right, well, I'm gonna take this guy out first now.
Oh yeah, I actually had. I think the worst I've ever had of that was I had a Wind God Gao. He had Cat Scratch from Stray Cat. He had Offering and Genji Glove. It queued up his Berserk, got Doomtusk, and then he hit my team with 8 fixed dice, and I lost the battle. Because that's what happens when you take 8 fixed dice to the face.
Yeah, that seems pretty brutal.
I also found out that if you kill all 3 of the pieces of Phase 1 in the same attack animation kind of thing, you will actually get all of the death counters.
Oh yeah, I found that one out the hard way. I had to restart that one.
Normally, and that's why the order matters, because, you know, when you kill hit, you 10 hits. It doesn't matter whether he's... But if he's the last one you kill, you're going to take 10 hits right before the phase trip.
Yeah, so Entity was first into, Fraggle was first into the Kefka fight, but Entity has taken the lead now.
Absolutely, not by much. You have Fraggle now going into the next phase transition. But you have a lot more damage with that Terror. So he's definitely having an easier time getting through. As long as he can keep that damage up, though, and keep all of his heroes healed up, pretty good spot for them. Have that condemned. Never fun to see.
Yeah, that is one of those where, well, time to start weight tricking now, so I don't lose my character.
Thankfully, he's still spending Rear to protect himself from Allman. You know, I saw one of them use Fenrir somewhere else. And Mr. Entity just lost his Terra, and he's going into the last phase.
Ooh, that is a lot of damage potential down the drain, but he should be fine. He's still got the remaining 3 characters and a ton of levels piled up.
Not the worst situation. Does have other characters that do a lot of damage, but losing the 16k per attack basically is definitely not the prettiest thing you could see.
Yeah, I mean, still doable, but it is a time loss.
I will say, though, to Jackmus's comment about them having more offense, they also have very different look. So we did have Entity with the era that had Ragnarok and have Locke as the spellcaster. Les is also a spellcaster of different type. And then I guess I thought that was Mog, but no, that is actually Old Man Strago with his lores. Been using quite a lot through the. And then you have Fraggle, who just got through with all 4 of his characters. We're doing a little bit more. Actually, I guess they're doing a little similar types of. It's Future Force with the Umaro with double fixed dice that have really broken the mold as far as what people are trying out.
Yep, and well, there's all of the Bolt 3s as expected.
We do have both people in Phase 4 Kefka. Same time, it was Entity's lead for that, but does have potential here to possibly some damage if he gets hit by the wrong counter attack.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because you have to consider what are the best attacks to use here, and the animation for Bolt 3 is so much faster than the animation for Flare.
It also does a little bit more damage. I believe in this case, the level 3 spell is actually better damage and a little bit faster animation. Against most bosses, I can understand why you would take Flick, because you would have the ignoring the elements. But did see the advantage of the higher levels, tanking a hyperdrive and not even going to sleep.
Nah, it's just they'll patch that up at the urgent care. No problem.
Speaking of going to sleep, that is a stab-in at it, and not tank a hit when you are at 1 HP.
No, that's a little bit more difficult. I would be terrified that an Ultima counter would come out here, to be quite honest.
Speaking of, that is now people that was attempting to give a Mega Elixir out. One of the downsides to using items is that if you the item and then you get counter or stopped for some reason, you no longer really have that item until you get another one with that character.
Alright, and down goes Kefka on Mr. E's side with, finishing up around 227, so sticking it out there for the long haul. Get out your GGs.
Let's see if Mr. Andy wants to come in and discuss this seed also. See what his opinions are and how he came across with the changes.
I'm sure he has some kind words to share with you.
I want to ask what has encouraged him to start really, really loving Evots Rock. That's what I want to know.
Fraggle into the Goner phase, and there's Quick. So, you can get Terra with Quick. Not too much is gonna hold up. It sounds like we're joined by Mr. E right now.
How's it going?
GG.
It was okay.
What did you think about some of the different settings? Obviously, the spoiler log changed things a little bit, but...
Oh, the spoiler log screwed me up so much. I just kept looking at it, and somehow at the start got really caught up on the idea that, oh, I know where there's an Illumina, and I know where there's an Ragnarok. I'm going to go through this incredibly convoluted set of steps to get a Genji glove. And it didn't work out terribly well.
So, you're saying the shiny piece of candy was a little distracting for it?
Just a touch. Yeah. It was neat, though. I enjoyed it. I just made some poor decisions.
That being said, I mean, there were a few things that were actually really interesting. People took very different paths, which I think was partially because of the 3 characters.
Yeah.
And then I know Jackamus was mentioning that he really didn't like looking at the sheet any more than he absolutely needed to.
The only times I really stopped to look at it were near the end when I was running out of Espers to get, and if I went into a town, I found it was faster to just look at the sheet than to go to all the shops.
Oh, that's for sure. That actually was a situation. There was Thunder Shields for 10k in World of Ruin Zen, I think it was. But only I think Future Force really went in and bought a lot of it. There were Flame Shields, but
I think that might.
Per.
That might be for the same reason that I didn't find them, which is that if you type in Thunder Shield and Control F it, you don't find it because it's presumably spelled Shield.
That is what I found during the stream. Yes, they are Shield. I was originally thinking there were none of them, but SHLD in that log will find them.
Yeah, and it's weird because some things in there are spelled the way you would expect, and some things are not. So I don't know. It's just a matter of how thorough you were. There were also some things like I didn't realize certain flags were on or off. Like I had the Paladin Shield on for quite a while before I realized, oh, I haven't learned Ultima yet. Why is that?
You know, I keep forgetting that you don't learn Ultima if you don't have that flag on. I will say a Paladin Shield is still really good.
Oh, it was very good. There wasn't that much great gear, especially because everything cost like over 50k, except for the cat hoods that I found for 100 and only one person could use.
That's true, but things did sell pretty well. I think we were seeing Mithril Shields selling for 24,000 apiece.
Yeah, that was something I realized after a little while, because I had written down Kefket Narsh, Abbott's Rock, Fanatic's Tower, then go get a lot of money, then do the Vel. Because the dried meat was like 60k or something, but then I went to a shop and realized, oh, all this garbage I have sells for 20k.
Right, and so I think it balances out in a little bit. Like it's not quite the same as Random Distortion, for so many reasons. But the fact of, you know, oh, these things are really expensive. Well, a lot of my stuff sells really well too, so.
Yeah, and that's it's utterly random, right? Sometimes you get Mega Elixirs for 3 gold. It's just a matter of how it rolls.
Absolutely. And it's definitely interesting.
I tend to like it. But it's sometimes it's going to be hard, sometimes it's going to be easy. It's a very randomizer setting.
Right. And that's the thing with this, where, you know, a lot of our racers seem to have gone around the 2 hour or the 2:30 mark is what it looks like we're going to be averaging. But we did have 2 racers finish, you know, 1 hour and 20 and 1 hour 35s.
Yeah, but one of them is Jack, and that boo.
Well, it's always nice seeing different times for everyone.
Yeah, it's fine. Jack's good at the game. He's just become sort of a meme in the Discord.
There was something interesting, though, as far as the spoiler log strats we saw. If you had looked at it, you could have seen Phantom Train was in the goddess spot. So Jack actually took 2 babies in and just gave a Revivify to the Phantom Train and just cleared that boss with 2 level 3 heroes at the end of the seed.
Yeah, that's a reasonable strat. I didn't look at what was in Kefka's Tower particularly. I figured my characters were strong enough that I didn't have to care which directions they went.
Fair enough. I'm also going to bring Fraggle in here since it looks like he's ready to.
Sure.
GG Fraggle.
Hello.
Giga.
So what did you think about the seed? Everyone's had very mixed opinions so far.
I think you're a bad man.
I'm glad you're here too.
It probably would have been a bit better if I didn't waste half an hour of my life on Magimaster.
We were all rooting for you. I'm so glad you stuck it through.
Oh, you've got to. I probably would have got through quicker if that stupid Yeti didn't decide to yeet him.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because you kind of set up for two strategies. 'Cause I know there's the strategy where you equip some wall rings, you do no attacks, and won't wall change. He hasn't been attacked, so he will eventually kill himself with wall ring. But once you've done a single attack, he will counter anything, including his own reflected attacks, with wall change.
With wall change. Yeah, it's I've had that happen plenty of times where I've mistimed like an attack or a wall change. So I thought I might as well go in ready for both and see what happens. And unfortunately, Plan Z happened.
Yeah, Rasp strats is something we have not seen in quite a while.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see it again, though.
If only I kept that Soul Saber.
Does Soul Saber work on Magimaster?
It takes my MP.
Oh, that makes sense.
No, apart from that hiccup, it was pretty much to me like a normal seed. I wrote down at the start what I wanted to gun for, which is why like I made a point of hitting the Opera House, I think it was, for Fenrir, and just things like that to make sure I had me end of game. Same with swinging by Fanatic's Tower, because the Illumina at the top, the Ragnarok on the dragon.
Yeah, I believe Insti also had picked up that that dragon too.
The one with the Ragnarok? Yeah, I went out of my way for it.
Yeah.
I went out of my way for that, and I went out of my way for Flare at the start. Which probably gave me an easier Magimaster than Fraggle had.
Oh, mine was easy. I just had to keep hold of A.
Just took a little bit, just have a nice sandwich, and he will eventually go away.
Yeah,
What
eventually.
was your opinion of the spoiler log? I know it's a little different because people haven't really had time to practice using it, or aren't really used to trying to look for what's useful in it. I know that Insti had mentioned that instead of looking for shield, he looked for shield instead of SHLD, which is what it shows in the spoiler log if it's not.
I thought maybe if I had like 5 or 10 minutes more, I probably could have got a bit more of a preliminary route out of it, other than go, find stuff, sell, buy meat, grab Terra, check.
Yeah, I'm actually going to have to pretty much agree with Fraggle on that one. I had like 5 things written down, plus where the Illumina, the Ragnarok, and the dried meat was, and that was about as much time as I had.
That's something we can always try sometimes, possibly either longer. There is, of course, the advantage to giving people a different way of, maybe you're not the fastest at the actual going through the game, but if you can get really fast at getting through spoiler log, it's a different kind of advantage.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't say go too much longer, but like Fraggle said, an extra 5, maybe 10 minutes would have been super helpful.
That's me, because people, even if it's like we have the guard to win, but having the guard to win is completely different from actually winning. I mean, what was the time spread between second and third? About 40 plus minutes.
55 minutes. No, 50 minutes.
See, it's like, you can have all the resources there. It's just how your luck goes and what happens. I mean, normally in a race, I always end up losing 15, 20 minutes anyway, so my time, what I finish with, was usually what I finish a weekly in anyway.
That's fair. Yeah, and that is one of those things. I think a lot of this, even though the spoiler log definitely helps, you're not necessarily going to go into a check that you don't know what the reward is going to be this way. But I don't think by any means it's, game breaking. It doesn't turn it into a router's route.
Oh no, the Router's Relish is a completely different beast. The spoiler log tells you where like the main things are. The Router's Relish, you make your own log for that. You know, like, okay, get this 5th chest in that room on the left. That's got a Ragnarok in, etc.
Right.
The spoiler log is literally just
And I believe
check this has turned to that.
I believe, just to make a comment about it, I believe next week's plan is the Router's Relish that we've been working on for a little while.
Oh, that means I've got to look at the seeds again.
I believe that's the plan for next Saturday. That'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see the execution side of it, because I think from discussing it with other runners, we've all got a very similar plan in mind for it. But with this, I think if I watch the VOD back, people have probably gone completely different to the way I did.
Absolutely. And that's actually something that I think I'm going to push for after this, is 3 character starts for these races. You give a little bit later of a, 12 espers instead of 10 maybe. But having three characters has meant people went to very different checks because there was different available. Obviously, if there's only one character that would have gated everything, that would have brought everything back in. But everyone kind of went a different direction to start, which was really nice to see.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of the 3 character start testing with Drew and Zelfa, and it does make for a completely different game compared to the 2 character start.
Absolutely, yeah. You have more checks available. People can go a few different routes, especially if there are other characters available afterwards. It's very interesting, because I don't think it necessarily changes the early game too much, other than speeds it up slightly.
Did anyone go the Serpent Trench?
I don't think anyone else ended up doing the Serpent. I think that was just...
No, I avoided it purposely because it was Gogo, and I hate his check, so as soon as the scene that was a dead end, it was like, yep, move along, don't go there.
Fair enough. It is one of the few checks that just has an instant death mechanic, and you can do nothing about it.
And Chancellors.
Looks like Future Force also went. Win Serpent Trench. You did 2 people go.
Ooh.
I wound up with so many characters that I didn't have to, because I did something real dumb.
Just to bring us back for a second,
What?
Unfortunately, Future Force left the head as his final target. So that was a Quake counter that sent Strago and Gal to take a nice, pretty nap while he goes on to Phase 2.
Ooh.
That's a lesson to learn. We've actually been talking a lot about like what people go for first in, say, Phase 2. What is your main target?
Yeah.
For Phase 2?
Tiger.
Yeah. That's what Mr. Entity said. Straight away, get damage in on the Tiger. If you've got instant death, use it on tools. Throw mute at the annoyance on the far left, and then hunker down for when Dio, the guy who rides the Tiger, starts punching.
That's fair. Yeah, I've always done it where I want to take down Tiger first to prevent Tomb Tusk, then go for then go for hit, so you can take that 10 hit earlier and plan for it at least.
Yeah.
My schedule of death there is always Tiger tools hit the other guy.
Yeah, it depends on what my armor situation is. Sometimes I'll take magic and take the 10 hits last. It just depends really, but because I didn't have that good an armor on Terra, I made sure to pull her back before the 10 hits went in, because that would have killed her and I probably would have wiped.
Yeah, and you and Entity were actually really, really close on that fight. I think Entity, mainly, I think because of Terra, really just had so much more damage. But you guys...
Until she got
Draggle,
calmness.
actually, you started
Oh,
the tower before. Entity came into phase 1 a little bit later. You guys went to phase 2 at the same time. And then I think when his phase 2 transition ended, you started going. You got the phase. So he gained a little bit of speed until Terra went to sleep with calmness.
oof.
That was a really close race between the two of you.
My Terra was swinging for like 18k with a Illumina / Ragnarok plus whatever procs. But then I forgot to throw up Fenrir when I was doing Girl and Sleep, and it sucked. Final Kefka took way longer.
Oof. I messed up my quicks a little bit on Final Kafka, but it happens.
Absolutely, and it's definitely one of those things where every fight's a little. Sometimes you have bad procs, or I can't even think of the amount of times I have gone in. I had Fenrir, and I just got overconfident because of how well the first few phases were going. That I completely just skipped Fenrir because I forgot I had it or just wasn't even worried about it, and did way more damage to Sleep before I had cast it. And all of a sudden, hey, look, I've got a.
Yeah, I had forgotten to cast it, and then literally when the last swing was going out on my end, I was saying, "Well, Terra's got an Illumina Ragnarok. She'll block it." And it turns out that was not the case.
Also, I just realized I'm really sad for Future at the moment. I thought he just had an Imp Celeste, but that is an Imp Stoned Celeste.
Yeah, he's got an
And
imp statue.
Amaro with fixed dice, kind of trying to solo the fight.
You can do this, dude.
I don't know if he has any way of healing Amaro is the only problem, because he doesn't have a cure ring.
Yeah, it's not a good situation. I probably would have taken a reset on that Quake.
I don't know. I don't think he has any other characters that are very high leveled either. Anything's just going to wipe out whatever he fights.
Ooh.
It's definitely one of those fights that, do you reset out at this point, or do you try to just finish?
If you saved beforehand, then yeah, at this point, tier 2, you can reset out, you can still catch up. I think it was Vamp done it a few weeks ago, where he had a bad wipe and still managed to catch back up for a neck-and-neck final.
Yeah, because the amount of damage he's those 3 characters, just taking the reset and having those 3 characters back definitely brings back.
Yeah. Well, he's doing good for his first broadcast race.
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
We got to Final Kefka reasonably
and that's the
quickly.
thing that,
Yeah.
I want to mention, like, we love bringing in new people. We don't like having, just the top racers. We're not looking just to have top racers. We love, both helping out people when they're learning the randomizer and people of all levels. You don't have to be a randomizer, expert to join in these races.
Yeah, we don't want 4-way jack races.
You don't.
Boo! Boo, Jack! Boo!
You don't have to, necessarily be the fastest. We always appreciate having more racers. Love helping people out if they want. Even if it's Jack.
Oh.
I just do it because it's fun. I mean, it's a great way to spend 2 or 3 hours in the early hours of the UK right now. And, I mean, you can tease the train suplex. You can meme while you're waiting for Magimaster. You can throw an Excalibur at me and then have the Illumina proc on it and heal it.
That is true. I will say, because I've always heard the rumor, the fabled rumor of the meme of suplexing the train. And I've seen your GIF put up multiple times where you've thrown suplex train up in front of Cream. But I'm so glad that we finally saw a legitimate suplex during the stream.
Oh, I've done a few. Anytime you have 7 and you're fighting the train, if you don't suplex it, you're doing the game wrong.
Exactly.
Not gonna argue with that. Although I do need to learn suplex command myself for the next time I see the train.
X, Y, down, up, A.
Definitely gonna remember that.
Yep.
But no, it's always fun seeing the different strategies of what's going on. I think Future Force is just
Yeah, Future Force is on to tier
going to
3 here.
three,
That's
but
impressive.
I don't see him healing up his. Nope, that is a Mega Elixir. Never mind. I am wrong. He is going straight in with this Umaro. He is going to see how far it carries him. Look, I know I'm like one of the
Ooh.
biggest fans of Umaro, but come on.
He's going for it.
He is going for it. He'll absorb Murton.
Oh, that's something else I actually noticed about the spoiler log.
Oh, 999.
He's throwing fixed dice, but I searched the spoiler log for offering, and I guess it doesn't show you where any of the monster in a boxes are.
Yeah, I don't think it showed monster boxes
No.
because it doesn't show chests.
No. The spoiler log will only show the offering if it's for sale in a shop. Rewards for a check or a Colosseum prize.
Mhm.
And if it doesn't fall in, like, then it's going to be monster in a box, and yeah, you're on your own for that.
And most of them are known about. That's not too bad, but yeah.
Oh,
That is an unfortunate spit, but I can understand the choice there at the end. I'm so glad Umaro tried. Tried really hard. I believe that brings us to the end of our race. Again, this is Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide. This was a little bit of a different seed choice than normal. Next week we will have a Router's Relish. That is going to be the way to go. That'll be a little bit different. It's going to be basically a pre-planned route that everyone is going to be using. Everyone will have had time to make their own, so a little bit different. But I believe that's it for us. Thank you all for racing. Thank everyone for watching. Thank you, Atmotech, for the work you have done for this stream, or for the randomizer. And I'm really looking forward to the
there
next
goes
update
Umaro.
that's coming out.
and don't forget, Boo Jack.
Yeah, always Boo Jack. Hooray, Atma, Boo Jack.
Have a good night, everybody.
Nice.